That is like so hard. Yeah. But I'm going to tell you right now that I really feel like going deep tonight. And all that simply means is I'm trying to get every ounce of the juice out of it.
I love it when Earl is
I'm not at all concerned with speed and how much we cover. I'm much more focused on retaining what we hear.
Yes.
Is everybody with me on that one?
Yes.
Those of you online, are you with me on that?
Do it. Do it.
Yeah, I was going to monitor myself as usual, but that seems like I left my cell phone in my car. But I should be on, right?
Yeah, it looks like it's moving.
Yeah, it looks like it's happening. Mighty companions out there in cyberspace, the cybership. Thank you so much for tuning into the Way of Mastery with me tonight, and those of you in the room. I got a song by a friend of mine, Donna Marie Carey. She has some songs that right now seem to be resonating a lot with what's going on inside of me in the way of mastery and in the way of mastery of me. This is what we're trying to learn, the way of mastery of us. And this song is called No Solid Ground. And I want you to hear this. It's a trip. Pay particular attention to the lyrics.
Standing on a hill, looking out around me. Even though I can't feel it, the ground moves beneath my feet. The valleys turn to mountains, mountains to valleys. The desert's dry and barren once below the sea. There is no solid ground, but the one my heart stands on. There is no solid ground, but the Holy One. I fell in love with a kind and gentle person. I learned to depend on him for my happiness. My life was soon filled with hopes and disappointments. When he could not meet what I did expect. There is no solid ground, but the one my heart stands on. There is no solid ground, but the Holy One. There is no way to know what comes with tomorrow. All that really matters is what you feel today. And the only thing to count on is the ground your heart stands on. Love will hold you up and always keep you safe. There is no solid ground, but the one my heart stands on. There is no solid ground, but the Holy One.
Donna Marie Carey. I I love that line, there is no solid ground but the ground my heart stands on. Because that is the truth.
Yeah.
And then she said that about, she met somebody and she was pretty much dripping with happiness and joy and expectation, and then they didn't exactly act them all out. The only solid ground is the ground that our heart stands on, the truth that we stand on. And thank you for coming out tonight. I know that, I always say that, I love that you watch at home, and I'm also glad that you come here, because I think it's important for us to keep the community happening, to keep supporting each other physically, and to see each other. There's so many areas of our life that we're already separate. So, whenever we can come together and appreciate each other and remember the truth together, that's a big blessing. And that's something I don't want to take for granted. Because I know what it feels like to think you're the only one kind of wanting to think differently. Now, isn't it funny that we're in a world that if you choose for sanity, and if you choose to be loving, it's sometimes seen as a brave thing to do. Think about that for a minute. We're coming together to join with each other in something other than fear and separation. And then sometimes the temptation is to think of ourselves as weird or strange. And I'm going to be continuing in the way of mastery, the page 312, and it's continuing with the section that we were covering last week. That's called Be the Presence of the Love That God Is, which is the same as saying be the presence of the love that the Creator is. And as much as possible, I'm going to try to do this in a way that it's almost conversational, so that we can hear it as if there's a dialogue that's being carried on. And then we'll throw it open for comments and for questions, and see if we can set the goal tonight to hear what it's saying, to actually get the juice. What is the point? What is the point of this paragraph? What is it trying to make us aware of? And I'm going to start out with the paragraph that says, Father or Creator, what would you have me do? Everybody see that? You got the book. What is your will for me? Do you know that the awakened mind does not surrender in subservience, but you surrender to the infinite intelligence? He said you surrender to God because you finally got some sense again. That it's sanity that makes you want to listen to spirit, not subservience. You're not doing it because you're just trying to just serve. You're actually going, you know what? The sanest thing I could do is listening to God. The sanest thing I could do would be to listen to the Spirit. So you're not doing it out of subservience. You're listening out of sanity. And then it says, the awakened mind recognizes that it's never been the tainted gnat whining and complaining and trying to make life work the way it thinks it ought to work. So a person, according to the way of mastery, that's whining and complaining is always a person that's trying to make their life work the way that they want it to, that wants everybody to be the way they want it to, that wants every circumstance to be the way they want it to. Those are the whiners and complainers. Because an awakened being is trying to have it the way the Creator wills that it be, not the way they're making it up to be, and then they're whining and complaining because it isn't turning out the way they want it to. So the awakened mind is a mind that surrenders each moment. An awakened mind is a mind that dissolves in each moment. That's an interesting statement. An awakened mind is a mind that abides in each moment. An awakened mind knows that only the love of God is real and says, Creator, what would you have me do? When people ask me to pray for them, I always ask for God's will. That's the only prayer that feels peaceful to me. I don't care what anybody asks me to pray for them to have. I always go, I really pray for God's will in this situation. I don't know if it's to your advantage to live through an illness. I don't know if it's your advantage to not healed. I don't know, for all I know, what's on the next level beyond the physical body could be the best thing, the most awesome thing, the most peaceful, most glorious, most happy experience that a soul could ever have to have. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what your best interest is, but I do believe that that which created us does know. So let's take a moment to silently say to ourselves, and you can use whatever word works for you. You know, I don't mind saying, God, what would you have me do? I know what I want my mama to do, and I know what I want my sister to do, and I know what I want my lover to do, and I know what I want the world to do, and I know what I want the government to do. So I'm going to let all that go, and I'm going to ask right now, universe, cosmic, consciousness, spirit, love, God, Father, Mother, the divine, all that is, what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? What do you want me to do? Any questions, any thoughts about that paragraph? What was the juice in that paragraph? What was one of the statements that really hit home for anybody in here in that paragraph? CJ.
It's the perfect question for me to ask at the end of my day.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I had an adventure in youth today, and coming out of it, I knew that I wasn't seeing them clearly. You know, and so, you know, even in each moment today, I kept finding myself having to ask that question: what would you have me do? Because it's not about them.
What would you have me do? You were constantly asking yourself, what would you have me do when you were at work today, doing your mission,
Yeah.
working with young people?
Because it's not about them.
Mm-hmm.
It's really not.
What is it about?
It's about my ability to see them as one with me.
It's about my ability to see them as one with me. It's about my ability to recognize that they're only love. It's about my ability to recognize that anybody in front of me is only spirit. It's about my ability to recognize that I'm one with you and you're one with me, and I'm one with you and you're one with me. Thank you. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, the first sentence, the awakened mind surrenders not in subservience, but because sanity has returned.
That was mine. I'm not doing this stuff because I'm
catch
chemistry.
myself sometimes when I'm really screwed up or feeling low, starting to feel subservient. You know, like get me out of this, and letting my power go. You know, and forgetting the God that's in me, and you know, and then kind of anthropomorphizing God. You know, as you know. I guess I don't know if I'm saying it right, but where when I do that, when I split, or when I increase my separation, I feel, you know, kind of disempowered and and really subservient. Whereas if I can learn to talk to the Holy Spirit more, I think that's, you know, helpful for me. Sorry, if I can.
Yeah, I want everybody that's watching
if
online
I
to be able
can
to hear
learn
us.
to talk, you know, to talk to the Holy Spirit more,
Yeah.
and you know, and understand that the Holy Spirit is the true communication device between me and God, is the bridge there, and not, you know, fall subservient to this great maker in the sky.
Okay. Good. Good. I'm just like you. I'm one of these people that didn't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater. Just because I learned concepts of God that didn't feel right to me, that were based on fear, I'm not going to throw out the whole concept of the God power. I want to get in touch with the one that's based in love, not be tricked to thinking just because the one I grew up with was fearful that now I'm going to throw out the whole idea that I didn't create myself.
Right.
So this is a spiritual class. And I love that all the stuff that I teach is spiritual. You know, the way of mastery, the Course in Miracles, the Course of Love, they're all God-centered, love-based, creator-centered material. Because I don't want to continue to think like my brothers and sisters, like they're by themselves, on their own, got to figure it out, hope they meet somebody that's cool. You know, it's like I'm through with that game. Anybody else hear something in that first paragraph?
I thought it was interesting how they talked about the mind dissolving.
Yeah.
And I'm kind of curious about that. And it makes, I wonder if that has something to do with tapping into the heart as opposed to the mind?
That's indeed, I'm sure, I can see how that would be true. And what came to me was my mind merging and joining with the divine mind, the greater mind. That in a sense, my mind dissolves into the love of God, the heart, the creator. To me, it was like letting go of that sense of being self-separate. Yeah. Angela.
I was after the same segment where it surrenders in each moment and it dissolves in each moment.
Yeah, it surrenders. And the key thing is it says, the awakened man. I think that it's interesting that these books are all trying to teach us through comparison and contrast. That's what it's using. It's always trying to say to us, the awakened man does this, the unawakened man does that. A man based in fear does this, a man based in love. So that when we are listening to people, we'll know who we're listening to. We'll know whether or not we're dealing with a fear-based consciousness or a love-based consciousness. And we'll know the difference between love and fear. He says we don't know the difference between what's real and what's not. And that's why we hurt ourselves. Because we don't. So I know now that at the point that my mind is awake, I'm going to want to listen to the higher power because now I got some sense. My sanity has returned. I'm going to know that little whiny, complaining part of me that's always been trying to make everything the way that it wants it to be, that's not really me. That's just an image of myself that I've made up since the day I was born. Then he goes on to say, if you awaken, you surrender, you dissolve, you live in the moment, and you know that the only love you can count on is the love of God. And then you're smart enough to go, and God, what would you have me do? That was in that one. That was the first paragraph. See the difference between taking a moment to hear it instead of just rushing through it? Now this next one is even deeper, but it's really loving, so it's going to be hard to stay awake. Okay, so let's all kind of use each other and help each other stay conscious. All right, okay, because this is going to be loving. So nothing checks us out quicker than loving. CJ, was it anybody online? Did they have anything that they said? Okay, so those of you that's online, that feel very much love your participation too with each other and because you're part of this. And so the awakened mind opens itself and it receives the pebbles being dropped into its pond, not by its own hand, but by the hand of God or the hand of grace, which is the perfect hand of mystery. Do you know the perfect hand of mystery has been called Abba, which is that love, that creative source, that power, that joy, that sublime, sweet, sweet mystery that is constantly creating, for love must extend itself. Sometimes I'm going to read in staccato because it'll grab the mind. It's kind of, if I read in staccato, you're going to find yourself hearing me. But if I read just like we normally read, poof, for instance, no longer is there concern or worry over the body. See that? How can you tell when you're awake? You're not worried about your body. You're not concerned about the body. And even more than that, I'm not concerned about your body. That's really a miracle. I know I want another plane now, but let's define as y'all are, you know what I'm talking about? So, I'm enlightened. I'm so proud of myself. Okay. And what about worrying about the body? Ain't you kind of tired of worrying about? I'm not the only one that's tired of worrying about the body. You know what I'm saying? It's amazing that people want something that gives us as much challenge as the body does sometimes, you know? He says, no longer is there concern or worry over the state of the world. So an awakened being isn't worried about the new administration.
Right.
So do you know whether you're awake or not based on that sentence? Then it goes on to say, the awakened man, to the awakened mind, there's only the eternal dance of creation. So the awakened mind basically wants to party like a big dog. It wants to do not a regular dance, it wants to do an eternal dance of creating. The awakened man knows that it is a participant in the great mystery. So I don't really know what's going on. This is a really great mystery. Don't you think we're living in a mystery?
Yeah.
But it said if you're awake, you're still a mystery, but you know you're participating. And he says, now this is the really the thing that I'm looking forward to. It says when you're an awakened mind, you don't have any blocks whatsoever. And you don't have any fears whatsoever. Just think of that for a minute, just for a few seconds. Can you imagine what it's like to have no cares, no worries, and no anxieties, and to be perfectly calm and peaceful and feel completely safe all the time?
That'd be it.
If you're awake, that's what the state of your mind is for an awakened being. So, based on that paragraph, any thoughts that's directly related to that? Did anybody hear one thing that's the juice they want to take with them, online or in here?
Is that actually possible to achieve as a human, do you think? That state? of no
Absolutely.
fear,
That's what he's saying. It is possible. That's what this is all about. But it's saying that by the hand of grace, by the hand of the source. Through the source it's possible, not through us trying to do it through our own human resources only and our human mind. That's what's so cool about things that are real, is that he says in another part of the book, it talks about in the Course in Miracles how when you start to aspire to do things that you cannot do alone, that's when you're no longer alone. Just the mere fact that I'm aspiring for a level of love that I don't know how to do is a request for support and assistance. That is a request for God to take over. I'm glad that I'm trying to do stuff that my ego can't figure out how to do. That means I'm growing. That means I'm opening myself up to something that's greater than my own awareness, my little finite awareness. So you're right. We can't do it as a separate human being on our own.
One of the things I appreciate about the laundry list of evidence, right, is that it does also give me evidence that I am waking up more. You know, I'm not doing these things 24/7, but I'm experiencing them more and more. And so that for me is evidence that ultimately we can get there because I can see that it's increased in my life.
That's right. That's right. That's right. Please speak up.
Okay.
Okay?
I will.
All right.
I will do that.
Okay.
I like the awakened mind knows that it is a participant in perfect mystery.
There you go.
You know,
There you
that just, it kind of makes it easier on one point, that if you accept the fact that it's a mystery, you know, I mean, how often have I read a mystery novel and loved every minute of it, and then get flipped out because I'm living in one?
Yeah, I'm in a mystery. Thank you. That's exactly right. And think about this. If you're a mystery to me, then I'm more willing to let you express yourself in ways that I wouldn't ordinarily even expect. I wouldn't even try to limit you if I didn't think I knew you and knew what you were supposed to be about or how you supposed to. So I like the idea of thinking of you as a mystery.
As long as you let go of judgment.
You know, well, that's what stops us from being mysteries to each other. It's because we judge each other and think that the judgment we made is what the person is about.
Right.
Absolutely.
So Demola says, I love that quote from Jesus, I think it's in ACIM, that says, do you know what it feels like to have no cares, no worries, no fears, and no concerns at all this time? That's heaven right here.
Yeah, and that's where I said that from.
That's heaven,
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I just love that sentence. There is only the eternal dance of creation.
I love that. She said she loved that sentence. There's only the eternal, which to me is saying to us, you know, that the creation isn't even expecting us to be dull, bored, and not expressing ourselves. You know, some people's idea of spirituality to me is frankly the most boring thing I've ever seen or heard.
Yeah.
It's like people have this perception of spirituality as the body being physically quiet and still. And that's just one way you can express it. I think I've gone to nightclubs that I felt have been more spiritual than many spiritual groups and classes I have ever gone to. Yeah, I was in one just a couple weeks ago. You know, that I was blown away by the level of connection and eye contact and smiles and friendliness and openness. And you can go to spiritual gatherings and people be like this. And don't speak to each other, don't talk to each other. You know, it's almost like fear. It's almost like coming together fearfully. You know, and so we should kind of like bring a lot of that energy of oneness and joining that we're seeing in the dance of creation into what we're doing.
Wave Mastery Unicorn.
The way of mastery unicorn. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. Yeah. All right. And wherever you find yourself, if you are asked to be crucified, dead, and buried, so you shock the world into realizing that there is something else besides surviving, you do it. Now, the way of mastery claims to be Yeshua or Jesus sharing with us today, because that part of us, that master, never died, because it's eternal. Okay, whether you believe that or not, that doesn't matter in terms of how you could benefit from the words of love that are being shared. But that's what just happened. That was like, if you would think about the crucifixion of Jesus and then listen to this, he says, wherever, if you're an awakened man, wherever you find yourself, if you're asked to be crucified, dead, and buried, so you can shock the world into realizing that there is something else besides surviving, you do it. And it is given unto you to write books. You write them. So what? So I noticed that when I read the Bible, that Jesus said many times that he was going to be crucified. Is that right? He would say that to people. That's my role. This is what's going to happen. And that's why I kind of trip out when I watch people like freaking out about the fact that Jesus was crucified. They're making people feel guilty because Jesus was crucified according to the Bible. I'm like going, but he said he was going to, that was the role that he was going to play. So that's like you trying to make me feel guilty because you decided to be a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? It's like, come on. He said, I made this decision because I wanted people to know that there's more to life than just surviving, and that who we really are survives death. And then I wrote a book about it. Then I allowed a book to be written about it. That's a powerful paragraph. And each and every one of us also have a divine plan and special function, just as much as Jesus, all the great masters have done. And so he says, if you are an awakened mind, you are not attached. What does that mean? It means that there's a flow of creativity that's moving through you, because a person that's not attached isn't blocking their creativity. If you are asked to take a simple picture that I placed in the mind of a certain artist and distribute it to 15 million people, you simply do it because you're no longer attached to your ego. If love asks you through me or through another to move to the far ends of the friggin' earth and build a hut and do chants, you go and you do it. What's the problem? There is no problem. If the divine is telling you to do it and you do it, then it's going to be okay. If you truly trust that the divine is going to be okay. That was the message I got about moving to Denver. Okay, it's time for you to go. I didn't know where I was going to teach. I didn't know where I was going to live. I didn't even have transportation when I first came here. But I was told I was supposed to come here, and I did it. And it's been an incredibly supported, loving, beautiful experience. But I was listening to where would you have me go? You know, and so living by guidance is a very different life from living by analysis and trying to figure everything out. Says, guess what? You are as free as the wind. Only those born of the Spirit know the Spirit. The Spirit is like the wind. It comes and goes where it does. If you weren't afraid of not being taken care of by not going to your job tomorrow, or if I felt that I was going to be really truly provided for by the universe and I would always have what I needed to stay, how would I live my day? I'd go wherever I wanted to go. I would do whatever I wanted to do. I wouldn't stick around here because I'm attached to something here. I wouldn't do anything from attachment. I would be like the wind. I would go wherever I felt led to go. How many people do you know that do that besides Selby. You know, you did it. That's right. You got it. That's right. You got it in your car.
And Susan!
And Susan just drove off into the sunset.
She
We can
drove
see her
off
for
into the-
months.
Might just do it again.
That's
Yeah,
right. That's
good for
right.
you.
Right. That's right.
In an RV.
Yes.
Think of that sometime. What would you do if you weren't worried about how you were going to be taken care of financially? Because so many people live the life that they live purely because of security reasons. You know, and if I really trusted my Creator, if I really was willing to follow the divine, I would know what I was going to do every day. Because I know the lessons would change every day.
That's right.
So I don't fool myself about whether or not I'm awakened yet. Because I flunked. I flunked the test that they just got through saying. I flunked the test of no longer having any worries or concerns over the body. Flunked. No longer is there concern or worry over the state of the world. Flunked. No longer is there concern or worry over anything. Flunked. There's only the dance of creation. Well, I do twerk.
Does that count?
Does that count? That's right. Melissa, would you twerk for us? All right, it's all about the location and the time. That's right. Having a glass of wine. Okay. All right. I don't see people as a mystery as much as I should. So when I said flunked, I'm not saying it from putting myself down.
Right.
I'm glad to say I flunked because that allows me to stay open to guidance, to being taught, to listening, to working on it. I find that people who think they're further along than they actually are the ones who suffer the most. Not the ones who are honest enough to say, I don't know how to love you all unconditionally yet. I don't feel my oneness all the time, consistently yet. You know what I'm saying? I would trust a person who won't talk like that than a person who told me that they loved everybody equally in this room. You know, I love honesty. Would you have somebody on that headset? Okay. All right. So now I know that I'm not so quick to be willing to jump on everything I think Spirit is telling me to do without question. You know? I haven't gotten to the point that I trust the universe and Spirit to that point that I say, no matter what's happening to me, I know it's for my own best interest. I can say it, and it is the truth, but that's not necessarily how I feel about what's going on. And I'm willing to admit that. I find the more that I believe that I'm loved by my Creator, the more honest I am about my ego. That it makes you more honest about your ego. You more quicker, if you trust that you're loved unconditionally, you'd be much more willing to say, I hate my daddy. A spiritual being could go, I have feelings of total hate for my father. And I want another way to look at that. Because they know they're going to be guided, supported, and loved, even if they think they feel hate. So a person who's actually beginning to know the love of God is 10 times more honest about their feelings, all of their feelings, than the people who think that they can still be sinful, guilty, and condemned. Because then they're going to pretend they don't feel the feelings that they feel. They got to act nice so they won't be punished. See? So watch the nicey people. Watch the nicey people. Yeah. Those are the ones you found on top of the building with the rifle picking people off. But they say that. It seemed like that was the nicest, quietest person in the office. The one that came back with the machine gun. You watch the nicey people. That's one thing that's interesting about being in the South. Everybody's so polite. Somebody said, I'm sorry 30 times while you're walking down the aisle if they happen to be in front of you or in front of the can of tomatoes, whatever. It's like people are very polite in the South. You talk to be polite no matter what. It's almost like, excuse me, I'm sorry for being on the planet. You know, forgive me. You know, and it's a lot of repressed feelings. And that's what I think is happening in the country right now. I feel like all the stuff that's been repressed, all the stuff that's been suppressed, everything that people are pretending that they don't feel, it's all coming up to be healed. And And when I can look at it that way, I feel more peaceful. When I don't look at it that way, then I know I'm not looking at it that way because I feel upset and worried and concerned. Right? Anybody else have any thoughts?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting to me, like the difference between following guidance, like we want to be guided by God. So we pray for guidance, and I do this. I'm always asking for guidance. But it comes in such subtle ways, and sometimes it's hard to decipher, what is God? How is God guiding me? And so you said you were guided to come to Denver.
Yeah.
And that's interesting because, I believe you. But it's like, how do we know when the guidance is really divine guidance?
That's the easiest. That's the easiest question in the world to answer.
Oh, great.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. I thought you were asking something hard.
Cool. You came to the right place.
Okay, right. First of all, and this is just what's coming to me. I'm not saying it's the only way.
Yeah.
Okay. But first of all, you have to learn the difference between how love would guide you and how fear would guide you, how God would guide you and how you would guide you. And so books like The Way of Mastery, Course in Miracles, or any real spiritual teaching, that's what they do. They constantly tell you, if you're coming out of your fear and you're listening to yourself, for instance, then whatever you want is all about your own personal interest separate from anybody else. If the answer that you're getting is coming from you, for instance, then you feel some lack of peace. You feel anger, or you feel depression, or you feel separate. If it's coming from love, then you know it's something that includes everyone, that it's something that you can count on, that it's going to be something that's permanent. It's like what happens is that all these books give us very specific instructions about what to look for in order to discern the difference between what he calls truth and illusion. So, for instance, if I'm upset and angry, then I immediately go, now again, what's important, let me add this. It's important for you to establish your own, in a sense, your own way of communicating with your own divine self. In other words, I have established through this, it says God's answer is always some form of peace. Okay, so then I make the decision within myself that that's going to be true for me. So therefore, I don't care how anybody else analyzes it. If I'm not feeling peace, I don't believe I'm hearing what the Creator is telling me correctly. And other people go, well, sometimes it's God's guidance, and then you still feel upset and angry, and you're staring out this. God said, no, you didn't hear what I said. I said the way I communicate with God is, if I'm feeling conflict and a lack of peace, then I know there's something. I tell myself my perception is incorrect, and I ask for another way to look at it. In other words, I had to make a decision about how I was going to react to guidance in whatever. It's almost like you making an agreement. Like, for instance, I made an agreement. I keep hearing in these books that if you're really listening to God, then the obstacles are removed from your path. That things happen in an easy, flowing, harmonious way. Well, I've got to make a choice that that's true for me. That if that's not what's happening, then I am not hearing the voice of truth for me. I'm not truly hearing what Spirit is telling me. So if you notice, I'm the one, I've got to cut out the wishy-washy. I can't go, it can be God's voice, even though I'm all upset and scared and all of that. It's like, no, not for me. Because if I say it's God's voice when it's scary and frightening, and then turn around and say it's God's voice when it's peaceful and loving, then how the hell am I going to be able to tell the difference between the two? I've got to make a hardcore decision that love and peace is the way of God, and anything else is what my own ego is trying to tell me. And that's what this does. Like when we just got through doing this, it said, for instance, if it's an awakened, notice how it said, if it's an awakened mind, then it's not going to be something that somebody that's worried about something, that's concerned about everything. So if I'm getting guidance and all I'm feeling is worried and concerned, then I know that I am not hearing my guidance. I'm not saying that I'm not receiving it, but what I'm saying is I'm not hearing it correctly. It might be the best thing in the world, but as long as I'm feeling afraid and I'm feeling doubtful, then I need to take it upon myself to say, that there is something about this that I'm not hearing correctly, that I'm not going to make my move until I have some form of peace about this. And so I don't care what anybody else is trying to get me to do, then I have to say, I'm sorry, I'm not moving on it. But then the people say, well, sometimes you can't wait. Okay, then you go, okay, I know I'm moving on this, even though I don't feel peace about it, so there's a possibility it's not going to turn out the way that I think I want it to. Because I know I'm not doing this from a place of total peace and guidance. So then I'm willing for it not to turn out the way I want it to. Because I know that it may or it may not. Why? Because I know I wasn't in the right frame of mind to begin with in terms of how I move forward. I was afraid when I made this move. It might work, but it might not. Why? Because I wasn't completely in peace when I decided to do this.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. So what you begin to do is you set perimeters for yourself. Like God's answer, like the Course of Miracles says, God's voice is always some form of peace. So I'm looking for peace. If I'm feeling more conflict, it doesn't, for instance, if I don't trust you, it doesn't necessarily mean you're not trustworthy. So my guidance is saying I shouldn't come anywhere near you. But what it does say to me is, if I don't trust you, then there's something I need to get corrected in my perception about you before I move towards you, if at all possible. See the difference? It's like, I know that if I was seeing you from the divine in me and the divine in you, I would trust you, who you really are. I would want to love you. I would want it. So if I'm coming at you with suspicion, then I have some grievances. I have some blocks. There's something about me that I need to have changed, because you're going to reflect back to me exactly what I expect of you, even if you are not doing it. I'm going to project on you that you're doing it anyway.
Yeah.
If I decided you don't like me, then almost anything you do, I'm going to use that as an excuse not to trust you. There are people that walk in the door, they decide I don't like Earl as a teacher. And then anything I do from that point becomes justification for them not liking me. If I don't care what it is. I don't care what it is. Somebody just decided that, wow, you feel really good to me. Then no matter what I do, then they're going to put it in the side of the basket that says I like Earl. That's why in the end, you have, the Course says you always answer people and you give people what you want to come to you. Because they're never hearing anything but their own thoughts about you anyway. So it doesn't really matter what you say to anybody. They're the ones that's going to get what you're saying, the meaning that it has for them. So it's more important that you're saying what you want to remember than to be concerned about how well they're understanding what you're saying. Because they're not. They're just giving it their meaning. Right? If I say I love you, you're going to give it your meaning of love. You, and I think you're giving it my meaning of love. But the truth is, you're giving it your meaning. I'd like you to try an experiment online and in here. It's a real cool experiment. It came to me today. That can absolutely prove to you that everything, it's like you may have your doubts. That's okay. I don't care. But okay, I want you to pretend that it's true. We are absolutely separate. That's absolutely true. That I am not connected to you. There is a Susan that's sitting over there who has her own thoughts, her own feelings, her own emotions. She does not feel my feelings. She only feels the feelings that's happening within her, and that's all. Period. Zero. She's feeling her. She's not feeling me. And y'all know that it seems that way. That some of you may have a physical pain going on right now, and there's not a person in this room saying, I feel your pain. I slammed my finger up in this door before y'all came here. And it was my attempt to convince myself I was a body, because the pain really made me feel like I was my body connected to my fingers in that moment. So I know from learning the Course and Way of Mastery, it was a trick of my mind to make me think that I am something that's fragile and can be hurt and couldn't possibly be in this unlimited being that these books are teaching me that I am. But there wasn't anybody around me that said, ouch, when that door slammed on my finger. Right? So that means the feelings that I felt came from me. The pain that I felt came from me. Nobody else felt it. So take that thought and just start applying it to everything you're feeling. That there's nothing you're feeling that's not coming from you any more than the feelings that I was feeling were coming from me, including the pain of my finger. You could empathize. I could say my finger was hurting, and you could remember the times you've hurt your finger, and you could say, ooh, man, I know what that feels like. Empathy isn't the same as you experiencing something as me. And we have such a high level of empathy that I think sometimes we confuse that with psychic connections that we say we're having with each other. You see what I'm saying? I don't think until we get past the perception of ourselves as separate bodies and tap into the one mind that's behind all of us, and love, he says, love can be shared. Love can be shared. But that's still the love that I'm generating and joining with the love that you're generating. So I'm not saying it's the ultimate thing is what I'm saying is right. I'm just saying think about it in terms of your own physical experience. What you feel, when you feel pain or hurt, rarely, if ever, does someone else, rarely, I'm not saying there's not times that there's something that happens, but I'm talking about generally speaking, how many times have you ever had any kind of physical pain that another person reacted exactly like they were feeling it at exactly the same time in your life? Not what you read in books, not what happened every blue moon. I'm saying be realistic. So if that's true, then that's why we could be happy all the time. If everything that I'm feeling is being generated from within myself, then I could theoretically experience nothing but joy and peace all day, every day. Because I'm the one that's determining the meaning that everything is having. So that's very liberating. I'm not saying it to be depressing. I'm saying that you have such control over the way that you feel that you don't have to be affected by anybody else around you and what they're going through, so that you could be the peace that you could share all the time. That's what I'm shooting for. I'm not shooting for trying to get other people to love me or trying to get other people to change for me anymore. I'm shooting for self-control. Me being able to choose what I want to feel. Choose how I want to express myself. Choose who I allow to affect me and who I don't allow to affect me and what I allow to affect me. And hopefully choosing to let God completely use me and take over completely in my experience is the long-term goal. But I'm trying to take stuff off of you all. I'm not trying to put more on you. As I wake up, I don't want to put my projections on you. I don't want to put my script and my expectations on you. That's loving you. That's then you're free. And I'm not holding grievances against you about what you don't do that I want you to do. That's love. Not I love you if I act out what you want me to do. So I think that we are on a path that's much easier than the one that we learned from the world. And I think it's kind of funny that people kind of approach what we're doing as if it's what's depressing, or it's what's hard, or it's what doesn't excite them. To me, this is the most exciting thing in my life is the truth. It's much more consistent than any human being I've ever met. And that's not putting down human beings. Human beings, the substitute word for human beings is change. Instead of saying a human being, say a changing being. That's what a human being is. They're a changing being. Period. You know. So you are allowing burdens to be lifted off of you. You allowing burdens to be lifted off of you as you do this. Anybody else have any thoughts about anything before I go to the next part?
It occurred to me that it would probably be the easiest thing for me to do regarding the experiment, to believe that we are all separate.
It's the truth. At the level of the body, and the level of the illusion, and the level of the world, and the level of what we've been taught, we are separate. At the level of how we act, and the level of how we behave, and the level of how we treat each other, we are separate. I think we'll get toward the oneness faster if we stop denying that we think we're absolutely, totally, and completely separate. Then we can start that move toward the oneness. But
When you said that, I just visualized like a steel ball rolling down into a trench.
Yeah.
And that's me accepting the teachings of the world.
That's exactly what the teachings of the world, the Course in Miracles says that the world is teaching you one lesson, and you can basically boil it down to this paraphrase. It's your fault. It's always something outside of the person that's putting them through what they're going through. The world is the ultimate teacher of victim consciousness. That's what the world teaches us, that we are a victim of everything. You name it, we're the victim of it. From insects, to weather, to our relationships, to the earth, to the government, to our weight, to our age, to our sex. It's like and it's always somebody else's fault. If my mama had been different, if my dad had been different, if my race had been different, if my sex had been different, if my country had been different. That's what they said. The world teaches you that everything is being done to you and that you're basically not the creator of anything, but if so, very little. That's it. It's not complicated. It's not complicated. And it says that too, that there's nothing that's harder for a person that's asleep to see than what's obvious. He said that's what we miss the obvious stuff all the time. Like it's obvious what I just said. Obviously, I think I'm separate from you because when I hurt my finger, there was nobody else that said I felt that pain. So evidently, what I was feeling was coming from me. And so that's just as true about everything else I feel. The joy I feel in this moment is also coming from me. It's not coming from you. You can join me in your joy. You could be excited as I am right now, and we could join in it, but you're not creating my joy. But we're joining in joy. That's cool. I love to join in joy. But it's self-generated. It's self-generated. So as a teacher and who's somebody who's been doing this for 3 decades, the one thing that I've noticed in all my teachers over all these years is that the thing that seems to cause the greatest delay in their happiness is they're waiting. There's like this posture that you'll see with truth students of them waiting to be happy. Like it couldn't be generated in this moment. Or they're waiting for the perfect person to show up. Or they're waiting for the perfect financial situation. Or they're waiting for people to be friendly with them. And so I'm trying to, and I invite you to let go of the waiting for somebody else or something outside of you to give you the joy that you're looking for in your experience right now. Because I think we have the opportunity to be that way moment after moment after moment like this one. We could just as easily be dancing with the dance of creation and joy right now as we could be just sitting at each other and looking at each other quiet. But the challenge is each person comes up with their own idea of what's going to turn them on. And so they're looking for the thing that's going to turn them on to happen. So that's why some people come in the room and you get excited, and some people come in the room and you get bored and say, why did they come? It's who I think is going to act out my thing that makes me happy, and who I think may not act out the thing that I've decided is going to make me happy. So that's deep. That's really, really deep.
You hear my voice going? From what I understand is wherever I am is where I'm supposed to be. And when you were talking about you're moving to Denver, I did something similar, but it was a very difficult concept to do. I hated letting go of where I was, and it was very agonizing, and then getting to Denver was even more agonizing, and I wanted to, erase that. So I'm trying to understand how much my ego pushed me because I was moving with fear, so I would expect that.
Every ounce of that was based on the idea of if you are experiencing peace, you're listening to spirit, then it was your ego that you were following. And spirit at any given time, just like a GPS that can relocate us even when we make a wrong turn, it can take us right from where we are and still continue to move us in a direction of love, in a direction of peace.
So when I get here, even though there was like a following of the ego,
right?
Then when I get here, reversing the whole thing isn't probably the right concept, but then tuning into spirit saying, okay, for whatever reason, you're the real guide, so I'm here, and now I need to expand into you.
Beautiful.
Why I'm here.
Beautiful.
And I need to understand that.
So remember
let
what
go and forgive myself for listening to ego and say, well, okay, ego, you got me someplace that I didn't think I wanted to be.
In other words, the journey from wherever you were to here did not have to be a journey full of fear. That was based on the way you were looking at what you were doing. That's the part that I'm saying is the ego.
Okay.
The ego is a perception. It's the way that I'm looking at things that make me feel afraid.
Right.
So
And that's holding on to the past. Or,
oh yeah. So when I say, that's why I kept emphasizing. I know you all can look at it differently. You know what I'm saying? That's why I said that. I know everybody in here could disagree with what I said and look at it differently. That's the beauty of it. Is that each one of you can do that. And that's what I meant when I said you have to get to the point that you make certain communication decisions between you and your higher power, so that your higher power, it's like me saying to you, we don't speak the same language, but you get that every time I pick up these eyeglasses, that means you need to turn to the left. You know, in other words, we had to establish some form of communication with each other because we didn't speak the same language. And that's all I'm saying. When it comes to connecting with spirit, it's like it's trying to tell us how you can start to establish some communication with yourself so you can get guidance. And for me, it's this. If God is guiding me in it, there's an ease about it. If it's my ego, it's a struggle. Period. So I know that if something appears to be a struggle for me, and not the kind of struggle that you don't mind doing, but a struggle that you kind of go, you know, then I don't go in that direction. If I'm not excited enough to go past the obstacle, then I know it's my ego for sure. Like if it's not really going smooth anyway,
Yeah.
and I'm not excited about
Yeah.
it, I know that's the doggone ego.
Yeah.
Now the difference is I really want to come over here and do this class, and I had a flat tire, and then I go, I'm going to do that flat tire. If I have to get the taxi cab, I'm going to come over here to this class. That's me really wanting to be here.
Yeah.
So that's the difference between an obstacle being something comes to let you know you shouldn't do it. I don't really want to do it, and it's hard. You know, I want to come here. I want to study this. So I don't care how much my ego goes, I don't know what it means. I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I don't want to do that. Let me figure it out. Because over-analysis is just something that a person does when they receive the answer and they're not ready to use it yet. That's all over-analyzing is. You have the answer, you're just not ready to use it yet. So you just keep analyzing and keep saying, yes, well, but what about this? But what about that? What about this? What about that? That's just you not really wanting to use the answer that you received. So if somebody else wants to keep telling you the same thing over and over and over and over and over again, and you still keep coming up with reasons why it can't work, then that's just your way of knowing you're not ready to do it yet. And you're cool. You understand? Because unconditional love isn't going to turn its back on you because you're messing around. It's just you're going to suffer longer, but that's your right. But love isn't upset with you. You know, you offer a friend, you know, a cup of coffee, and the friend says, no, thank you. You know, you don't kick them out the house. You know what I'm saying? They cool with you. Okay, you don't want the coffee. That's what spirit is with us. Okay, I'm going to show you the way that you can have total happiness and joy and peace in your life. You're not ready to do it yet? Whenever you're ready, I'll be here because I'm eternal, which means that I'm always here. So if you want to do it 50 years from now, I'll be here because I'm eternal. I'm eternal. But don't use the idea of eternal life to make you have a sad life. Mm-hmm. See, people take the idea that we have all the time in the world to mess around and not really get sincere about doing the work that they need to do in order to have the happy life. Mm-hmm. They're using the idea of eternal life to their disadvantage. I love this line that he says in the course that he says the reason why you should be okay about saying something is right for you and something is wrong for you, or right-minded and wrong, because like in the New Age circles, you don't ever say something wrong. You know, it's always right, right? Whatever direction you take is right. Ultimately, that's true. You know, if I head east, I'll eventually end up in New York. I mean, west, then I'll eventually end up in New York. But I went all the way around the world to get there. It would have been easier just to go in the right direction in the first place. So he says, yeah, every direction works, but you don't have time enough to try all of them. As a physical body, you will not live long enough for to try all directions. And so it's really to your advantage to have a teaching that says that's not right for you.
Yeah.
That you should go that direction and not every direction. I'm glad that the Course talks like that, and the way a mastery does too, to a certain extent. I'm glad that those things that irritate people's egos and irritate Mike. I'm glad every way isn't the right way for Earl. Earl isn't going to live long enough to try all the ways. I like whatever way he chooses. God can meet him there and direct him, but why do I want to make those errors in the first place? Why do I want to give myself the bum relationship in the first place? I didn't have to do that in the first place. Even though I'm grateful that God meets me in my horrendous relationship and gives me an opportunity to have peace. Thank you, Lord. But that didn't mean I had to go through that in the first place. If I had to listen in the first place, I could have had the same level of contentment and love without going through all of that. There's not a lesson you've learned since you've been born that you couldn't have learned in peace. Not one. Isn't that a trip? That we could learn through peace. We could learn all the time through peace.
Yes.
And I believe that. That's what I mean by taking a stand. You got to take a stand. You know, God is love, period. End of story. Nuh-uh. That's it. No fear, no guilt, no anger, no attack, no condemnation. Sorry, that's not my God. My God doesn't do that. Woo, that feels so peaceful. It says, peace comes from making an undivided decision. He said that's where peace comes from. It comes from you making an undivided decision, making a choice that you actually are going to stick to no matter what. And my choice is that God is love. That my Creator is love. And that my Creator would never hurt me, never attack me, never condemn me, and does not want me to suffer, doesn't believe that I have to learn through pain. That's my decision. Right? What is yours? What's yours?
I choose peace.
Yeah. It's awesome. It's awesome. And it's like he's saying here. You totally confused, like you just saying. He says in the next sentence, he said, Spirit, you do not know where it's going. Then it says, you totally confuse the minds of humankind. Nobody is more confusing to a human mind than us. Try to have a conversation with people who totally and completely believe they are bodies, they are victims, they are separate, that is their identity. Say anything that I'm saying tonight and watch them freak out. Right? So he says it. You know why you are confusing? Because you are free. You are free. That means you listen to no other voice but the voice of love. That's the person that's free. A person who absolutely will not listen to any other voice except a loving voice. Are you attacking me? Are you attacking me? I'm not listening to you. Read the hand. If you're attacking me, are you trying to make me feel guilty? Are you trying to make me feel guilty? Sorry, I'm not going to listen to you. Because according to what I've learned, God never tries to make me feel guilty. The voice of love would never try to make me feel. It's not saying that I may not have errors pointed out to me, but it wouldn't be trying to manipulate me through guilt. So if someone's trying to manipulate me through the guilt, a wall goes up for me immediately. I don't care what you're saying. You might be the rightest thing in the world, but if you're trying to guilt trip me into it, I know you're not expressing love to me according to what I've learned and what I've decided going to be my rule. Did y'all understand the context in which I'm saying it? You know, so other people think you are a really loving person if you feel guilty about everything you do. Right? The world thinks what makes you a nice person is you feel guilty about everything you think you've ever done to anybody at any given time. Right. That makes you a really nice person. A conscious being knows that you're full of resentment as a result of that, and that you're going to attack and you're going to separate. Because when people feel guilty, they attack. Because they want to separate. That's why the guy goes out, let's say, and has a fling, and they're not in an open relationship, and that's okay. But he broke the rules of their agreement, let's say, man or woman. They feel guilty about it. They come home and pick a fight. They come home and pick a fight because they feel separate and they feel guilty and they want to be punished and they want to be attacked. So they walk right in the door and pick a fight with their mate because they're feeling guilty about what they just did. Guilt is not love.
Earl Purdy says guilt is the gift that keeps on giving.
Until you go, I've had it with pain, I've had it with suffering. Because people don't know that guilt is behind lack, disease, sickness, attack. Everything they're unhappy about is the result of unconscious guilt. And the Course in Miracles says that the reason why people have unconscious guilt is because they're lying. And I go, well, what's the lie? Every time you say you're alone. Every time you say you're alone and there is nothing in the universe that's supporting you and that you are doing it on your own, he says you're lying. And the part of you knows you're lying. And it creates unconscious guilt because you know you're an unlimited being. You know you're totally loved. You know you're completely unlimited. You know you're a spiritual being and not just some human being that dies after a few years of struggling and trying to get a 401k. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's like you know you're more than that. So every time you say you're a separate being on your own, you're lying. And the part of you that knows that's not true knows you are. And so we've been taught if you lie, what? That's not nice. That you should feel guilty about that. Yeah, every time you say you don't deserve love, you're not enough, you're insecure, nobody could love you, it's a bald-faced lie. And you feel guilty about it because you know that's not true. You're just saying what you were taught to say. You're just saying what you got programmed with from the time you were a child. And that is not the truth about you. And you need somebody in your life to tell you that that's not the truth about you. And that's what a holy relationship is. That's why we're in this room right now, to not perpetuate the lies that we have been taught about ourselves.
Thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, that's why I'm in your life. That's why I want anybody in mind. Other than that, you have no meaning. If you're not going to help me remember God, love, truth, and that we're connected, then my relationship with you is a total distraction. That's all it is. Because you're not helping me to remember, so you must be helping me forget. That's the only two people you're in relationships with. People who may help you forget that you're innocent and that you're valuable and that you're loved, or people that's helping you remember that you're innocent and you're valued and you're loved. Those are only two people. And sometimes they go back and forth. They're both of them. One minute they're telling you you're cool, next minute they say you're Satan's spawn. And let's go to the movie. Okay, let's go. Satan's spawn. I think that's up there. I think that's playing at the pavilion. Satan's spawn. I can always tell when I'm hearing this correctly because I laugh. Yeah, that's how I can always tell when it's getting through to me.
Yeah.
Because my ego, just like everybody else's, it wants to take me out. It ain't no different, you know. And so it says, what is it that you want to hold on to in this world of illusion? Come on now.
Damn it.
Come on. What is it that you think you are so attached to that you stay in the world of the ego, the world of fear, the world of separation? What is it about this world that is so alluring to us? What is it about this world of separation that makes you so attached to it? Anybody care to say what any of their attachments are?
Special relationship.
Special relationship, thank you. Anybody else got an attachment that wants to keep them hanging out in the body for on and on and on?
Like the sunset, palm
the
trees.
the palm trees. That's right, and the sunset. That's
Got
good.
palm trees in Denver?
Yeah.
Or pine.
And believe me, all of these things really do create that. And so, and that's not a put down, that's not a judgment. But I think it is. I think people don't stop and think, well, what is it that's got me so attached to being here?
So Sinead says for her, it's the need to fix and bring improvement.
Okay, that's right. That's right. I'm a fix and bring improvement. I'm coming here to save this place.
Yeah.
That's right. And then the truth says that's exactly why. That's right. Since you've chosen to be here, that would be the goal that would pay off the most. So that's cool.
But you still have something you want to achieve.
Oh, thank you. I have an achievement that I want to. I want to be I want to be on Oprah. So that's what. Yeah, my achievements. Anybody else?
Physical comfort.
Well, I find that sometimes, more times, and it should, my own personal pain of maybe a separation is what keeps me here, because that's the only way I really know I'm alive. You know, I've learned that the pain of life tells me that I'm alive.
That's right.
If I were to
let
go into love,
that's awesome.
I would be absorbed and there wouldn't be any pain and I wouldn't be alive.
That's right. If you became merged with the ocean again, you wouldn't have your little ocean drop life.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
My little personal
your little personal drop. It's like, you know, it's like,
I want to own that.
Yeah.
It's really
Thank
painful
you.
to do that.
Thank you. That's a biggie. Some people, like I said, it's my pain that makes me know I'm alive. It's my upset
Yeah.
that makes me know I'm alive. It's my constantly being upset about something that makes me know I exist.
Ah.
Yeah, awesome. You said
Physical
physical,
comfort and pleasure.
physical comfort and pleasure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Any ones you care to share with us? Who knows? You might be able to get that pleasure met. You know. You don't know until you ask.
That's right.
I want some cotton candy. Anybody got some- That's a good one.
That is a good
Physical
one.
pleasure is a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Right up
yeah.
there.
Even though it's temporary.
Yeah.
That's the only thing about anything physical. It's always temporary.
I'll do God when I have my life mate.
You want to have your. That's right. You don't want to go until you finally had your perfect mate.
Yes.
Thank you. That's right. What Cheryl was saying about the special relationship.
Well, not even just that. It's special relationships in general.
Yeah, yeah.
All of them.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you want the one.
Mollet says, yes, grievance gives me a sense of special identity, like me and my special relationship against the world.
Mm-hmm. I had a special relationship against the world.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome. That was the question. What would you hold on to in a world of illusions? So that's the difference between getting the juice out of something and just going through it. You know. Then it says, learn to discover the content that pervades all illusion. What is the content behind everything we see? He says, and once you discover the content, that's when you will taste the perfect freedom, the alleviation of pain that comes with what? Attachment to the form, even your own. Now, I'm going to say that again. Pain comes from attachment to form. Why am I hurting? Because I'm attached to something being a certain way that it's not. I'm attached to form. I want love, but I want it to come in the form of Cheryl. Cheryl doesn't want to give me the love. I am in pain because I'm attached to the form called Cheryl rather than the content called love. Y'all follow that?
Ooh, yeah.
Yeah.
So
So the pain is coming from my attachment to the form. And overlooking that I want to be loved, Cheryl, and I want love to come to me in whatever form that is best and most fulfilling for me. And that might not be Cheryl. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just hold this minute. Let me get some stuff out.
Yeah.
Okay. So when it says, even your very thoughts that yesterday you thought were true. In other words, you got to not even be attached to what you thought even yesterday. If letting go of that thought will let you have the content of love and peace today. You know, and what would be a good example of that? Me not allowing myself to have peace because of something that my parents did when I was a child. That's a form that I'm still holding more important than the content. If I would change my mind about my parents, which is the content, that form would no longer hurt me. If I change my mind about the content, I want the content. What's the content? I want peace. I want peace about my parents. That's more important to me than the thoughts I had about my parents yesterday. You know, when I have important family members, it was the 7th anniversary of my sister's transition in the fire yesterday, and I was able, and I'm always able to deal with that by focusing on another way of looking at it, not focusing on the form that the world would use to describe what happened to her. I had to be willing to want to focus on another way of looking at it, which is that she's not her body, she is not dead, she still exists, and she is still love. See, I had a choice. I can go with what the world tells me, or I can look at it another way and then generate a different feeling about it. So don't spend all your time trying to make sure that you never go through any pain. Spend all your time working on the correct perception of it. Because the correct perception of pain is what gets rid of it. Not, I'm going to make sure I never jam my finger up in the door. Yeah, I'm not going to consciously say I want to do that. But I'm not going to be naive enough to know that I'm not going to have sometimes things that I create that give me pain. So then it's going to be, well, how do you look at it, Earl, after you got your fingers smashed in the door? Rather than spending all day like many people, which is, I'm just supposed to feel good every second, every moment of the day, even though I haven't done anything to really change my mind into totally complete love yet. And so I'm just really stunned that I didn't have a really good day all day. You know you haven't dealt with all your grievances. You know you still see yourself as separate. You know you still have some anger about things. So of course you're going to have days that suck sometimes. It goes with having those kind of feelings still in your consciousness and still in your mind. So if you know you still have them, you know you're going to have what you call some bad days. See the difference? So then if it does happen, you don't freak out. You just want to look at it another way. Because you didn't walk around naive enough to think you can have grievances and you're going to have a perfect day every day. They don't go together. They don't go together. I can't hate you and then think I'm going to have happy days every day and nothing's going to ever bother me. The grievance itself is going to create a perception of pain. It's a perception. It's going to manifest itself. Then it becomes, how am I going to look at it? It happened. How am I going to look at it? You know? And then his book said, I'm going to give you a lot of cool ways to look at it that could give you more peace in it. Will you take the time to focus on this and study it so I can tell you the correct way to look at it so your pain can go away?
Yeah, I noticed when, before I was studying the course and my mother had died, I looked at it totally differently. But now that I've been studying the course and after my father died, I was able to look at that in a whole different way. And it was such a release. And
that's right, brother.
Yeah.
Everybody in the physical body is going to leave it.
Yeah.
Everybody in the physical body is going to leave it. You can either spend all your time focusing in on that never happening, or you can spend your time focusing on how to look at it correctly. You know. Okay, let me go further. I'm going to write this as prayer I want to complete with, and then we'll have our juice for the day. It says that today you have been taken even more deeply into love. That's what happened today, right now. And what is in the past is allowed to pass away. So what does that mean? It means that moving more deeply into love is allowing the past to pass away. When you let go of the past, you'll love more deeply. And so here's the prayer. Yesterday I thought I knew God. Today I know God even more deeply. Because I have rescinded my need to be right about what I once thought I knew to be true. I rescind my need to be right about what I once thought was true that now I know isn't. Father, Mother God, give me even more of you. My Creator, love, give me more of you. Love, give me more of you. Freedom, give me more of you. Abundance, give me more of you. Notice it has exclamation marks. It's not saying, Father, give me more of you. He's saying, Father, give me even more of you. I want more! Exclamation mark. I desire more! Exclamation mark. You are infinite! Exclamation mark. You are my beloved! I want only to die in you. Ever more, ever deeper, I want to merge with you, love. I want to merge with you, my Creator. I want to merge with you, all that is. Give me more of you, to taste you, to devour you, to die in you, more and more. Let's give it up, y'all. That was deep.
Yeah.
That was deep. So I'm going to do a little quick recap of that prayer and what we talked about, and then we're going to head out to the lab. And let's do the financial expression of appreciation. Those who want to share, I really appreciate that. And you're innocent if you do or don't. And those of you watching online, thank you. If you would like to make a financial expression of appreciation, I really appreciate that as a full-time teacher. And I love you. And I'm sharing and I'm giving, and I trust that I'll be sustained by God, regardless of what you share or don't share. But thank you so much for seeing value enough to share. I really appreciate that. I'll just go to my website, earlpurdy.com, and you can do that. Also, I'm available to work with you on a one-on-one in what I call clarity sessions. Go to my website. It explains that whatever you're going through right now, there's another way of looking at it. And you can have the blocks removed. And also use my knowledge of astrology and numerology that I both friggin' love. It's just as sacred as anything else. Everything is sacred that's used for God and truth and love. And it's extremely helpful, regardless of what you might think about it. And those of you who are open, take advantage of what I have to offer. It can be really helpful. And again, I'm available for mentoring and coaching and how you can really hear this and do this and save time. I've done 30 years for you. You don't have to spend 30 years. You know what I mean?
It's a gift.
Yeah, that's what anybody that's learned anything that you don't know as well does for you. They save you time. I'm glad I can go down to the garage and the guy who knows about transmission can save me time rather than me having to go to transmission school. You know what I'm saying? So so I've spent 35 years of my life working with this material. And there's an advantage of that you can take advantage of, that I'm offering for those who are ready to go faster and deeper. And so you're a blessing to me. You're me. Every time you get it, I get it. We're one, even though it looks like we're not, and feels like we're not a lot. That's why we want our special relationships so bad. It's like I want to feel like somebody in this friggin' place really cares about me and what happens to me. And it looks like in this world, for the most part, it only happens within the context of a special relationship. If I'm not special to you, you don't really, really, really give a damn whether I eat tonight or not. But if I was special to you, it would matter to you that I had clothes on my back. So I want to be in a world that love extends beyond that. That's why I do this, even though my ego screams like everybody else's. But I've tried the world's way. I don't like it. I don't like the way we do stuff and the way that I've done stuff in the past. It's crazy. And if anybody don't see how crazy this is, you crazy. That's how you know you're crazy. You would think this is normal, to be separate and to be divisive with each other, not recognize we all deserve love and that we're all one and that we're all connected. That's insanity. And I don't want to live with it anymore. I don't want to try to dress it up and put chocolate on top of it and make it seem like it makes some kind of sense because I got one person that seems like they care about me. And then I strangle them to death with my possessiveness and my fear of ever losing them or having them love anybody else beside me. I don't want to be that way anymore. Even though there's a part of me that is that way. That has been programmed to be that way. Nobody's denying that. So I don't want to have any cares or any worries. I don't want to be worried about what's going to happen to me tomorrow. I want to know I'm divinely protected and loved. And I'm not going to put that responsibility on you or you. Because you don't know how to do it. And I don't know how to do it. So I'm just making myself mad every time I look for you to do it. I'm just coming up with another reason to be mad at you because you're not going to be able to do it. you're not going to be able to do it. I'm going to do some things that doesn't meet your script, and then you're going to feel separate from me. It's guaranteed as long as we think we're separate from each other. And specialness is our goal. It's built into the system. I'm tired of this. And I want to meet other people like you and people online that's really tired of the old fear-based culture, world, society that we are projecting from our consciousness. Projecting from our consciousness. Coming from my mind. You know, because y'all some cool people. And I'm cool. And you're cool. And we deserve to be treated with love and respect and to be honored. And if you run away from somebody that's telling you that, what's wrong with you? If you got time for everything else but to give yourself that, what's wrong with you? Nothing. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. You're just forgotten. That's all. That's it. And I'm going to remind you over and over until you stop coming. Okay? And then somebody else will come, and I'll remind them over, and I've done it for 30 years. I will be reminding until I remember. You know, you go, oh, I can't believe Earl isn't here. Well, he remembered. But for me, it's fun. I love doing what I do. I hope other people let themselves find the thing in their life that they really love to do. Their mission and their purpose. Because it's available to you. It makes life worthwhile. Because once you begin to see the meaninglessness of most things that we value, you want to fill that void with what your true function is. Because that's going to be the only thing that's going to make you happy. Because you're going to see that most of us spend 90% of our time focusing on things that are totally and completely meaningless. Totally meaningless. This is the world that souls come to who want to play with the meaningless. But then they make themselves feel guilty about it. So what's real is the joy you feel in what you express here. That's what's real about this world. It's whatever joy you have in it. Not the thing you're doing. The thing you're doing is meaningless. It doesn't really make any difference whether or not, you know, I'm really good at doing wallpaper. What's good about it is how much joy it generates. That's what makes it real. The joy it brings to the person that looks at it. That's what makes it real. The universe wouldn't stop spinning because wallpaper didn't get up. Or nothing else any of us humans do. There's not one thing that we do that affects the universe. There's nothing we can do that can affect what's real. The only thing that's real is love. That's the only thing that's real. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what I'm saying. I don't really know what love is. I just know it's not anything I've experienced through the human way of doing it. And I'm grateful for everybody that's ever treated me special. Thank you. Because that specialness made you maybe look out for me in a way you never would have otherwise. I'm glad I was special to my mother.
There's a love not of this world. The only real love. Do not find it where I search. It's only in my waking up.
You are infinite.
To what beauty I wake up.
You are my beloved.
You are the very thing you've been searching for.
Give me even more of you.
The very thing you thought you needed more of.
I want more. I desire more.
Sinless child of God, love is all you are. There's a love not of this world.
Give me more of you. To taste you.
The only
To devour you.
love.
To die in you.
You'll not find it where
more and more.
It's only in the wake up to what you really are. Wake up.
Talk to me, Donna.
Search only for what is false. Let it go.
Let it go.
Give up the cost of holding on to what you think you know. Listen to the voice of love. It's calling you, telling you, wake up to the only true reality of you. You are love, not of this world. The only love. You'll not find it wherever you search. It's only in the waking up. Wake up.
Wake up.
To what you really are.
What you really are.
Wake up.
Wake up.
This world offers you nothing that you need. You are the extension of all that is and never will be. When will you believe? When will you come home to me? Wake up, wake up, and see our love, not of this world.
A love not of this world.
The only love.
The only real love.
You'll not find it wherever you search. It's only in the waking up. Wake up to what you really are. Wake up to all you've ever been. Wake up. Wake up.
Wake up. It's time for us to wake up, you all. It's time to wake up to what we really are. Let's not lie to ourselves anymore.
Several requests for the name of that song.
The name of that song is Real Love from an album called Real Love by Donna Marie Carey, C-A-R-Y. Really, I love her lyrics. She's a cool person too. Mighty companions, I know I can be slightly intense. I can't help myself. I can't help myself. I really want to wake up. I want to be honest with myself, so I can be out of conflict forever. I love you. Thank you for coming tonight. Some cool people in here who are totally and completely available. May the course be with you. See y'all.